Do you want to bust your sales quota? Do you want to join the ranks of top 1% sellers? The Top 1% Sellers podcast gives you the insights and the tools to help you achieve your sales greatness. The podcast features sales and services professionals, leaders, and experts to give you the edge you're looking for. Here's your host, Ash Sadiq.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us here. This is the Top 1% Sellers Academy webinar series. Today, I'm very excited. We have Tiffani Bova with us, who's going to be speaking with us on how to win big in an X as a service sales world. With that, we'll go to Tiffani and have her introduce herself to us, and then we'll jump into the questions. Thank you so much for being here.
Well, great, Ash. Thank you for having me. Yes, as was mentioned, my name is Tiffani Bova. I'm the Global Customer Growth and Innovation Evangelist here at Salesforce, really focused in on customer success and how we can enable and help customers grow and be more profitable and successful.
Wonderful. We're very excited to have you here today with us. And I know that we have planned to have a three-part conversation. The very first part of the conversation that I'd like us to focus on, specifically in an X as a service sales world, how do you define customer success in that kind of work today for sellers as well as also for customers themselves?
It's a great question. I happen to be at the SaaStr event today, and everyone is talking about customer success and kind of what that looks like and what that means. And I'd say that there's really two parts of that story. One part is the customers that are internal, right? So for those of you listening who may be on the IT side of things, or managing the technology on the marketing or sales side and the sales ops side, you have internal customers, and their success may be, filling up the pipeline faster, responding to leads more quickly, tracking customer journey, social listening, all the things you're able to do, right? So making sure that those internal customers are successful in doing their job is really important. But then you have brands that are selling services and products, and specifically in the X as a service space, let's say, right, that is solving some kind of business pain or business problem. So you want to make sure that you are making the customer who is leveraging your technology very successful in whatever it is they're doing in their job, whether they're selling cars or widgets, or they could be selling turbine engines, or they could be selling, real estate, whatever it is. You just want to make sure that they're successful in their job. So you've got kind of two customers here, and I think that gets lost a lot. It's a subtle distinction between who the customer is today, is really a consumer potentially, an employee, and then a business that may be servicing consumers, right? So you have B to B to C, right? So that sort of the line of the customer and the sort of the funnel of the customer, if you will, is much longer than it's ever been, because technology just allows us to touch far more people.
Absolutely, absolutely. And I also want to hear from you, based on your conversations you're having, and the whole focus on digitization and looking at how customers can really sort of change the experience of that end customer. What challenges do you think they're facing, not just from a technology perspective?
Well, I'd go back to what I just said. I'd say, first you have to understand who the customer is. Then once you have that understanding, I think the next step would be to agree internally of what actually customer success means to the business. So what, as an executive, as a CEO or a leader of a division, what does customer success look like? Is it we're reducing churn? Is it we are improving our net promoter scores? Is it we have more upsell and cross-sell? Is it we are expanding the share of wallet in a customer, or extending and increasing the average sale price? I mean, customer success means what? So I think once you've defined who the customer is, the next thing is to agree holistically as an organization what your company's definition of success is, so that then everyone sort of is leaning and following towards that mandate. But behind that, once you make a decision of what customer success is, the next thing you have to think about is what is the metrics that the company is going to be measured by in order to follow that success, right? So I think those things are critical.
Absolutely. And is there a certain focus on, I know for a while, for many, many years, CRM was sort of like the main focus for a lot of companies, that's the experience they want to really optimize. Are you seeing from a trend perspective that there are other aspects of the business value proposition that is getting more focus versus others?
Well, I think the story today is really about trying to finally get to a place where you have a 360 view of the customer. So across all of the various touch points of anybody who engages with a customer or speaks with a customer. So that's sales, that's marketing, that's customer service. It could be your BDR reps, your SDR reps. It could be people that are driving account-based marketing, kind of social marketing and messaging, right? Social selling, kind of everything, right? Anybody who's connected with a customer, having this 360 view, I think, is a combination of your customer relationship management systems, but potentially others, because it may not all reside in one place. So the data and the integrity behind that data is really critical. I often say data is the new oil, which I wasn't the first to say that. But then I'll say that analytics is the refinery, right? So refining through all that data. But intelligence is your petrol or your gasoline driving the business. And so data alone doesn't do you any good. So I think the customer relationship management, that single source, the single source of truth, one 360 view of the customer, regardless of what group or division, could even be product management or R&D, right? Looking for a certain set of customers that satisfies a demand, and who is using those products today is really important, right? Because then it allows the product development, product marketing organizations to understand what are the things that customers are really looking for.
Absolutely. No, that makes a lot of sense. And I've just interviewed, Jeff Fox, who wrote the book on the digital vortex, and we basically spoke about how companies are really struggling to understand where specifically to achieve a competitive edge going forward. And I think what you just mentioned about that 360 view is a big and tall order for a lot of companies.
Yes.
Are you seeing for a sales professional, are you seeing certain signs that their customer might be at a good point where a 360 view is good for the business?
Well, I think a 360 view is always good, and you're right. I think that it is something we all aspire to have. And I think for companies that have been around for some period of time, there's a lot of legacy information, customer data that may not be valid any longer. So, one of the big things for companies is actually clean data and maintaining that data over time. That's why I said the analytics, right, and intelligence behind it is you're constantly making sure that the data is usable in a way that makes the business smarter, right? If you're a startup or you're in early stage and you're just beginning to sort of think about customer success around this 360 view, you have a beautiful opportunity, right, to say, look, I'm going to start fresh. I have the opportunity to start fresh, and I'm going to do things properly. And so you see a lot of companies that are leading with customer experience that are new, they're startups and they're sort of in that unicorn group, or they're building $1, $2, $3 million businesses that are very healthy. They're very aligned to customer experience, and the only way you can build a really strong customer experience is having that platform by which you can engage the customer in any medium, any channel they want to 24/7, right? Because the world is definitely flat, right? There are no more borders to business, and so getting an understanding of what that means is really important.
Absolutely. No, this is terrific. And I think, what I'd like us to do now is sort of move into that second stage of our conversation.
Thank you for tuning in to the Top 1% Sellers podcast. Give us your suggestions and guest recommendations by emailing us at ash@connectwithash.com. Thank you also for sharing this podcast with your colleagues and social media contacts. To connect with us on LinkedIn, please send a connect request to ash@connectwithash.com. See you at our next episode. Thanks for tuning in.